Season 4, Episode 2 of Only Murders in the Building, titled Gates of Heaven, is really interesting. It's 37 minutes long, and only 2 episodes into Season 4. This season is really getting crazy, and more so than when you watch any Episode 2 of the previous seasons, because so much is getting unraveled so quickly, so fast. The episode opens where we see Saz, played by Jane Lynch, giving a history of how she got into the stunt work business and how Charles Hayden Savage gave her her first job. And then we see the aspect of Steve Martin's character playing a really well acted role in this, and he's phenomenal no matter what he does. We see the ashes of Saz on him, and he's just like freaking out and doesn't want to wipe it off or do anything, but he has the idea, and he gets it from Oliver and Mabel, that wash it off, put it in a mason jar, and then put it around. So when he does that, he puts her ashes, so-called, maybe it is her ashes, in a mason jar with water and keeps her there. But then all of a sudden, in his subconscious, Saz shows up, and it's like she's telling him everything and what to do. And it's really interesting to see Jane Lynch in this episode, like being that subconscious mind to Charles. Now, all the while they're doing that, they're trying to figure out what's going on and what's happening, and how Saz got hurt or killed with the bullet. And then you see Oliver and Mabel figuring things out. Then they look out toward the window. Then we introduced the West Side Tower of the Arconia, where we see the West residents. We're introduced to Richard Kind as the stink eye guy, and then we see Kumail Nanjiani as the Mr. Christmas, so to speak, and then we see the actress Daphne Rubin Vega as Inez with her family, and it's just focused on those three. And Richard Kind as Vince Fish is really interesting, and how he's introduced. And then Kumail Nanjiani's character really isn't introduced in this. We don't really see him unless it's like through the quick vantage point of how he is. And then we have the aspect of Oliver and Mabel going to the West Side part of the Arconia, while Charles stays behind, puts his vision board together, or collect the board together to figure out who the suspects are. And all the while he's doing that, there's a noise in the closet. And Jan just appears out of it. She escaped prison, and it's like, what the hell is going on? So basically, Jan escaped in order to tell Charles that, Saz was frantic, didn't know what to do and what she was doing, and she felt distraught. And it's like, oh, okay, so like the dominoes are falling in the right places, so to speak. So while they're doing that, you see Oliver and Mabel get invited to a little game with the Inez family and Vince, and it's like a whole little thing going on. What's happening? And then Inez kind of has the hots for Brazos, and wants that hall pass kind of thing. You have the husband, the wife, the daughter. They all go into the room and have that little cut. We find out Oliver wins his first card game that they're playing with, goes into the bathroom, and it's a ham just hanging in the bathroom from Portugal. So it's really funny. And with all that happening, we see Charles still trying to figure out what's going on, and he's still talking to Jan, and it's going back and forth. And then Jan escapes, and then Oliver and Mabel figure out that something's going on, and Dudenoff is basically someone, or a guy or a girl, who lives in one of the adjacent apartments in the West Side Tower, across from the Inez and Mr. Fish, played by Richard Kind. And they see that on this, it's like a number on a post-it, and it's like maybe a code or a lock to get into it. They get into the Dudenoff residence. There's a ham radio there. There's a radio. Then they're trying to scope it out. There's footprints. There's tinsel. There's because the West Side can't open their windows because it's painted shut. And then Mabel goes to the bathroom and sees a small potbelly pig. So as they're scoping out the residence, there's someone coming in, someone trying to get into the apartment. So they do that. Mabel looks out through the peephole. No one's there. She opens the door, and then the pig just runs away, which is really interesting. And then they get back to Oliver. Oliver and Mabel get back to Charles's place, and then we see that he has to go get the substance that, what they want to figure out on how and where the blood splatter is and how Saz died. And then we see Donna come in, the detective who ends up becoming involved with each of these mysteries. Great to see Divine Joy Randolph appear after her Oscar-winning performance in The Holdovers. And she's like, what's going on? Why are you calling 911? And then she's like, great, there's another murder. And she's like, yeah, you should look in the incinerator. Mabel's like, oh, so they go down there. And they, while the cops are downstairs near the incinerator in the basement, Oliver, Mabel, and Charles have to figure out what's going on and what happened. Charles needs a minute, goes into his room, sits down, and it's like him and Saz kind of had that one last moment together, which is really, really good and really, really well done. And that happens. Charles comes back out, and we see that Saz wrote something in her blood, and it says, tap in. Charles knows what this is. And it's like, okay, what's happening, what's going on? And then on that code, that code that had the numbers on it, Oliver drops it, turns it around and says, oh hell. So basically, instead of trying to figure out who killed Saz, they're trying to figure out now. Charles is like, we're not only solving Saz's murder, we're now solving mine. So it's like, okay, who are the suspects? They look across the way. You see Fish. You see the Inez family looking on back at Oliver, Charles, and Mabel. And that's the end of the episode. This is a phenomenal second episode with so much going on. And mostly everything happening in the Arconia once again. Not only that, basically all in Charles's apartment. And all of a sudden Jan comes out. And it's like, what is happening? It's like, how did she escape into doing parkour? And it's just a comedy aspect to it is really good. And then Oliver and Mabel are doing their thing. So it's like, okay, two stories happening at one time. It's like that murder mystery feel to it. Great episode. I loved it. Not many laughs, but mostly more emotional. And then you see the aspect of how we get the backstory of how Saz started to get into the industry as a stunt person and help with Charles Hayden Savage and get into Brazos and how she became big and then how she fell in love with Jan, so forth and so forth. I mean, it's really, really good. I mean, second episode of season 4. Wow, probably the best of the second episodes from the previous seasons as well. I'm very, very curious to see what's going to happen in this season. Still don't even know who killed her, why they killed her, but we know now that I don't think Saz was the supposed target. It was Charles. But why was Charles the main target? What is this Dudenoff? What is the Inez family? What does, Fish have in it? And what does Kumail Nanjiani's character have playing with everything? I mean, it's crazy. I'm getting tongue-tied trying to explain everything, but that's the joy of this series. It's absolutely amazing. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about Season 4, Episode 2 of Only Murders in the Building, titled Gates of Heaven. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? What did you think about the aspect of the story, the twists and turns? What do you think is going to happen next? Who do you think is the killer? Why do you think they were going after Charles? And do you think it has much more of a bigger thing than we actually realize? Let me know in the comment section below about all the questions I just asked. I'm Mr. Filmstock. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next review video. And be sure you tune in next week for my Season 4, Episode 3 review of Only Murders in the Building.